So now that we have the movement holder installed, the case cleaned out, and the movement in place, we can begin the process of securing the casing clamps. The casing clamps hold the movement ring and turn the movement in place in the case, hold the dial securely to the case, and just keep things from moving around inside the watch. Now, when you first take it out, the casing clamps are going to be on either side. You simply grab a screw and unscrew them before you put them in the watch. I'm going to show you the casing clamps here. Have them in one of my convenient Petri dishes. And the screws. I'm going to try to grab it so I can show you. What it is a tab that bends upward. See how it bends at the end? You got the screw hole on the right side here where it's rounded, and then it bends upward. That bend faces up towards you in the case. So when it's in the case, you're putting it bend upwards and lining it up with that screw, and it's going under a little ridge inside the case. And what that's doing is putting downward pressure or upward pressure, depending on which side the case is turned, to hold that movement ring in line. So I'm going to go ahead and get them both in. Simple task of putting them in place. One thing you might want to be working with at this point, I mean, I have this anti-static work mat. If you're not working with one of those, the Esslinger toolkit does come with a case cushion. That's to protect your sapphire. It's not required, but suggested that you lay the case on something soft like this. Now, keep in mind, this edge is metal, so when you're working with the case, be careful you don't scratch it. So I'm going to grab my next. Well, I'm going to go ahead and grab the next tab and put it in. There is some danger here. You know, you see you've got your balance wheel, hairspring, escapement wheel right there. You certainly don't want to get this tab lodged in there. You'd be in trouble. So just be careful and take your time as you do this. So I'm going to get them in place. Just set them there. I'm not putting the screws in yet. Go to your movements parts bag. And I want you to grab out the 8215 crown stem. This is the actual crown stem that's going to go under your crown. And we're going to grab our actual crown. We're going to screw it onto the crown stem. So I'm going to move the case aside out of the way. I'll move this out of the way. And it's just a matter of lining it up. And threading it. So now it's threaded. I'm going to take that crown stem, put it into the case. I'm going to ensure that the crown looks like the stem is coming out of the exact center of the threaded crown tube. I'm doing that because when I secure down the case with the screws, I want to make sure it's aligned. That affects the whole alignment of the movement. It affects how the dial appears aligned. So stick it in there. You could install it completely if you wanted. Hit the detent, push it in. It's now in. And just check for alignment. Grab one of your screws. I'm going to start with this side. I'm going to grab a screwdriver. Here's my screw. Screwdriver. If you're using the Esslinger toolkit, it's the gray tip. But whatever screwdriver, whatever precision screwdriver you're using, just make sure it matches the threading on the head. And then that's how you know you're using the right screwdriver. Just going to go ahead and get the screw in there, which can be fun at times. Whatever you do, grab the screw by the threading, not by the head. That can result in the screw flying on you. And spending the rest of the evening on your hands and knees looking for this screw. I'm saying that from experience. I'm just trying to stick it in there so it, there we go. So it stands up in there. Another method to get the screw in, which I probably should have shown you first, is to hold the screw with your non-dominant hand and the tweezers, and just threading it in lightly, get it started. As you can see, I've already got the other screw in. Now, I didn't tighten it down all the way, and I'm not going to tighten it down on either side completely just yet. And you got to be careful on this side next to the balance wheel. It's not tightened down all the way. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to line up, and it's already tightened to the point where I can't move. You want to make sure that your crown tube, your stem is lined up in your crown tube. I'm going to loosen up these screws a little bit. So I have the ability to move the movement ring around in the case until I feel the crown stem is coming out of the crown tube, threaded crown tube, about perfectly straight. And the reason you want to do that is when you go to thread your crown, if it was out of alignment, it wouldn't thread very well. It would have a lot of resistance. So I am looking really good right there. So I can go ahead and tighten both screws down all the way. Making sure I don't go back out of alignment. And there we are. Our casing clamps are in. The crown is aligned in the crown tube. And actually my crown is not all the way in. There we go.